Hi everybody, welcome back to Sharon's Home and Garden channel. It is great to see all of you out there and great to be able to do a video this late in the season. So it has been a difficult fall and early winter. It frosted early, we had a killing frost early, and then we had snow on the ground for Halloween, about 6 inches of snow, and then November was really cold. My heating bill for November was really high. And I never really got a chance to clear everything out at the end of the season. And now the ground's frozen, so I can't pull anything out. But today is a beautiful day. It's 50 degrees outside in December. We have no snow. And I thought I'd give you a little garden tour and kind of do a year in recap for you. So I think it's only fitting that I start by the hydrangea bushes. Aren't they beautiful? They're still beautiful. So I keep the flowerets on the hydrangeas all winter long. Eventually they'll break off and blow off. There'll only be a few left, but they're really pretty when there's snow on them. But I can't show you that because we don't have any snow right now. We're in this like little pocket of area that doesn't have any snow. But I do like these. It's kind of a reminder of what was. And even while they're dead or dormant, they still have beauty in them. So that's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is the hydrangeas. I enjoy them all year round. All right, let's continue on. So here in my covered raised beds, I enjoyed growing onions. I did an experiment of the difference between onions grown from sets and onions grown from seed. Then I had radishes and spinach in the middle section. And then in the end section, I had celery, 3 different kinds of celery. So the onions, I am bound and determined to learn how to grow onions. You know, there are as many ways of gardening as there are gardeners, but one of the things I just haven't been able to grow very well is onions. So this year, in 2020, I am bound and determined to grow onions, decent onions. So I didn't get I got enough for me, let's put it that way, but I didn't get as big of onions as I would like to. Something got in here and knocked all the onions over, and then they stop bulbing once that happens. So spinach and radishes. This year for radishes, I didn't get any or many radishes. I got a lot of greens. And for spinach, it kind of bolted. It really bolted fast. So hopefully next year won't be that bad. And then the celery, I got a lot of celery out of this garden. I love growing celery. It is so satisfying to grow because it is so beautiful. And it tastes so different than anything you would get in the store. So I love growing celery. So in these containers here, I had 2 different buckets that had blue potatoes in it and 2 buckets that had Kennebec white potatoes in it. This is dwarf tamarillo. As you can see, I never got to pull it out. And this was melon pear here. And then I had a beautiful bucket full of flowers right here in front of me. Again, I hardly got a chance to pull stuff out before it got really, really cold. So next year I'm going to be moving these buckets because they get shaded out by the sunflowers I normally put on the end here. And I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put them. We'll see. In my raised beds this year, along the back here, I grew elecampane and sunflowers. We'll see if those elecampane come back. They're supposed to be a perennial. I'm sorry about the wind noise. Then here I had ground cherries. I loved the ground cherries. I am definitely going to do those again. In this bed, I did peas and beans. I had really good bean crops out of that bed. And along here I had zucchini. So I want to do that again I want to do zucchini again this year, but I'm not going to do it in this bed. So along here on this part of my raised bed, I did some pepper plants, a few tomato plants, more pepper plants here. One of my favorite was the black Hungarian peppers that I was able to pick from here. Very spicy, but very good flavor to them. And then I had some wonderful parsley and some perennial herbs, my sage, and the tarragon, which of course I didn't get to pull out. That's what I should be doing this afternoon, is pulling this stuff out. Not pulling it out, but cutting it back. This is by far the biggest change to my garden last year, is by adding this piece of garden. This is a 20-foot by 20-foot piece of garden, and I did all vertical gardening in this section. So I did tomatoes on that fence, and I did melons and Japanese long cucumbers, and who can forget about those birdhouse gourds? Crazy. I'm not going to plant those again next year. And then I did cucumbers along that trellis there. So one of the things I want to change is these trellises are not high enough for cucumbers. They end up falling over and going along the top of the trellis. So I'm going to put the cucumbers on this trellis along with the cherry tomatoes. The cherry tomatoes seem to do very well on there. And I don't know what I'm going to put over there. I think I'm going to put my peppers or tomatoes over there and peppers over here or something like that. So we'll see what I end up doing. I haven't quite mapped everything out yet. But I had a wonderful time with this particular bed. I don't know if you remember, but you couldn't even walk through the rows here. It was just solid green leaves, and especially with the squash on this one, because the squash really, those big leaves just really kind of took over the aisles. So that was fun. I don't think I'm going to move anything. I haven't quite decided, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So down here, I did peppers in these pots. And I made the mistake of planting marigolds in with the peppers. And while marigolds are beautiful, they really kind of took over. I should pay more attention to the type of variety. But that's what I had all along in here. And I'm missing 2 pots, which are now in my greenhouse. And those, it got so cold so fast, they died almost immediately because it just was not warm enough for them to continue on. So one of the things I want to look at is moving this greenhouse. And I haven't quite figured out where I want to move it because it is in the shade all winter long. The only time it gets sun, the sun comes up in the wintertime, like right there. And then it goes, just doesn't even crest the top of the house. And then it's in shade all the way over as it goes the rest of the way to the west. Because here we're so far north that it never really gets due west. It gets like southwest in the summertime. So I want to move my greenhouse so I can use it earlier in the spring. Usually about February 1st, the sun is high enough that it can reach the top of the greenhouse. But I would really like to find a spot for it, someplace where it's a little more in the sun all year round. That's what I want to do. So here in my raised beds, you can see I can't get in there because I put twinkle lights on my garden. But in this bed here, I had flowers. I love having a bed full of flowers in my garden because it attracts the pollinators and it just adds beauty to your garden. That bed that has Sharon's garden on it is going to have flowers next year. And this particular bed was my herb garden. I love growing herbs. If I could only grow one thing, I would grow herbs because they're useful, they smell good, they have pretty flowers on them when they bloom. So I would grow herbs more than anything else. In these 2 pots over here, I had some milkweed. And You can see it's looking pretty pathetic, but it was gorgeous. So I'm going to leave the roots in there and see if it comes back. I should know by May 1st if it's coming back or not. But I'm kind of hoping that it comes back. You can see here, this particular milkweed. There's still a few seeds. Put those in there. And we'll see what happens next year. That's pretty much it for the garden tour. I'm really looking forward to next year. Seed starting will start about March 1st this year. I'm going to start a lot of my flowers. I'm also going to be doing winter sowing again. I didn't do it last year. I did it the year before. Had really good luck with that. And so a lot of my cold crops, I'm going to start with the winter sowing to get them going a lot earlier. Tomatoes do really well, believe it or not, for winter sowing. I have really good germination rates. Somebody is mowing their lawn. Really? It's December 22nd, and they're mowing their lawn. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah. I am going to be doing winter sowing this year because it really takes a lot of pressure off my growing room down in my basement. It gives me a jump start on a lot of things. Even things, you know, cabbage, peas, beans, they all do fine in winter sowing. So I'm going to do all that. This year is going to be, as much as I possibly can, I want to do a hybrid vegetable gardening. So I'm buying almost all hybrid seed if I can find it. Now there are some varieties of things that do not have hybrid seeds, like I'm looking at spinach, for instance, and there isn't a whole lot of hybrid available for the spinach. I don't know. Do you have hybrid spinach? I don't know. Maybe not. A few things that I'm not going to do hybrid, like I want to do a Moon and Stars watermelon, and I want to do your standard size watermelon, like a, you know, big old fashioned, we grew up in the 70s type watermelon, and I'm going to do that. I am doing a lot of the melons and the squash and stuff in my raised bed, and I will have very few plants in there, because I kind of want to give those raised beds a break this year. And then I'm going to be doing the cucumbers over the trellis, the tomatoes and peppers on the vertical trellises as well. And hopefully we can get some good production out of them. Again, I want to kind of stick to the hybrid vegetables for those. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next year's garden. I have been torturing myself by watching gardening videos. I imagine you do the same thing. I got my seed catalogs, so I've been pouring through my seed catalogs and trying to pick out what I want. I'm started my gardening journal and have to do an inventory of all the seeds and just sit down and kind of plan out on paper what I'm going to be doing for next year. So if you're interested in seeing all that, leave a comment in the comments section below and I will show you my whole process for planning out my garden. So it was great to see you all again. I've really missed doing these gardening videos all summer long, and I look forward to next year. So from my heart to yours, Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in 2020. Bye.